Having successfully launched 3 businesses, bilingual mum to 2 and entrepreneur Antonia Brown has connected with thousands of people, both French and international, since moving to the French Riviera. These connections allow her to speak with successful local businesses and inspirational people about life here on the Côte d'Azur and share it with you. Welcome to the Riviera Firefly podcast with your host, entrepreneur, and my mum, Antonia Brown.
Welcome to the Riviera Firefly podcast, episode 6. I'm thrilled to be speaking with Lizzy Parks. Lizzy is an acclaimed British jazz and soul singer living right here amongst us in the Côte d'Azur. Grazia magazine said she's la Cannoise à suivre, the can girl to follow. And BBC Radio 2's Jamie Callum agrees as well, saying, and I quote, "She's a fantastic jazz singer, definitely one to watch from now on. She's got a great voice and she's a great songwriter as well." So as well as being a renowned performer and composer, she also works in education for both children and adults, and that's how I originally met her. And in fact, my husband trains with her in the Big Blaze chorus, which we'll talk about later. Other performing groups that Lizzy collaborates with are Lizzy and the Gentlemen and the superb vintage 50s styled group, the Sundown Sisters. So welcome, Lizzy. You're a real mompreneur. Have I missed anything?
No, I don't think so. That's
You are a real busy bee, aren't you?
I am, yes.
So listen, I want to start with basically saying thank you for joining me, and to sort of get warmed up, can we talk about one of your favourite childhood memories that you've got? Maybe one from back in Devon when you were growing up?
A musical memory.
That'd be great, yeah.
Probably, I remember the moment where I kind of just became addicted to music, and let's say when my addiction began. I started playing the clarinet when I was kind of 7 years old at school, with the kind of hope that I would learn to play the sax later on. And we used to have these groups come to our school who were kind of touring, who I guess were promoting themselves, and they would come to the school and kind of perform to the kids and hope that we'd all go out and buy the cassettes, I guess, afterwards. And I remember this country and western singer coming, and it wasn't so much the style of the music, because country and western doesn't appeal to me as much as other types of music. But I remember her coming and performing, and she sat on the stage with her steel guitar and she sung her own songs. And I just remember being totally dumbfounded by it. I just kind of was like, from that moment, I was just totally in awe of her. And I remember thinking, I must absolutely sing. I have to sing.
Oh, wow.
And she signed autographs afterwards, and I went to speak to her, and she asked me what I did, and I said I played the saxophone, but all I wanted to say was that I sung. So from that moment on, I was like, I must be a singer and I must do music. And I think my school was just massively music orientated at the time, and that, the teachers, like, this is why music education is so important to me, because the teachers were just totally committed to the kids that paid an interest in music at the school.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was actually really inspiring, and they just kind of they spent hours after school doing all the groups and the bands and coaching and stuff, and it just made all the difference. So I have massive fond memories of being at school in Devon and being kind of totally in awe of all the music around me.
And have you ever kind of gone back to that country and western singer and gone, hey, I've got some albums or anything like that?
Do you know, I can't even remember her name. I would love to, but I can't remember her name. And but I have been back to the school, and actually we had a reunion not that long ago, and it was just lovely. Like the school jazz band and seeing all old faces and stuff. So yeah.
Probably quite different back in the UK. Music in schools, I remember, I was really quite rubbish at music. I can pretty much do green sleeves on the recorder, that's it. But other people that were really into music, they were able to, go and learn the sax and the clarinet and everything. But I don't really see that in the sort of schools here, not the sort of everyday state schools.
No, I think it's more of a privilege here. I think, because I work in some schools, and it seems to be, it's something that the kids, they have to come out of lesson times, and it has to be funded by their parents. Whereas, for me, it was like, it was all kind of state funded. We if we showed an interest in it, we could try instruments out with the teachers, and we could be part of the kind of Devon youth jazz band, concert band, all these kind of things that were funded. So it is a shame actually that there doesn't seem to be quite that emphasis in the state schools here, in the public schools.
It's kind of mad, really, when you think about it, because everyone loves music, whatever type.
Yeah, it's true.
Everyone, but not everyone likes sport, but I can't think of anyone that doesn't like music,
And most people can't live without it either.
Yeah, exactly.
You can always find a song or a piece of music that just appeals to somebody and will stick with them forever. And so, it's such an important thing. And also it's, everyone can do it. It's not exclusive to being good at it or being particularly musical or rhythmic.
And it can be free, can't it? Because singing you can do for free, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
These days you can pick instruments up secondhand, Le Bon Coin, things like that. People are always selling things off because they take up lots of room sometimes. So, you can, like singing you can do for free, but, pianos, keyboards, flutes, recorders, clarinets, all those kind of instruments. And with the internet these days, you can basically self-teach.
Yeah, that's what my son Louis, Louis, he does.
Yeah.
We actually, because I was so rubbish at music, I was like, I don't want my kids to have that same problem. So we have a drum kit, we have an electric guitar, it's pretty mad. And he goes on YouTube and teaches himself.
Yeah, people take videos of their hands playing the instrument and copy it. But having instruments at home has a massive effect as well, because we had a piano at home, and I never had piano lessons, but I would consider myself to be a pianist, now, because I just used to do what your son Louis does and just go and tinker away and learn things and just be interested in it.
Yeah. So okay, so you've had this passion, you've met the country and western singer, and then I know that you went to the Birmingham Conservatoire, and you studied music, and then 25 years old you suddenly went, okay, I'm ready to do my first album. So, and then you did 3, did you, back to back?
I did, yeah, basically. I guess it wasn't so much like I'm ready to do it, but more that it was just the right moment, because I'd been at uni, I was doing a jazz degree, and I didn't graduate until I was 22. And so I had, all throughout my whole life, I've been kind of writing and poetry and songs. And, I did my first gig in a club in Devon when I was 13.
Wow.
So my parents were at the back kind of looking a bit cowardly. It happened that way. I took a music management course when I graduated from my degree. And on the music management course, through that, I met somebody who had launched a record label. And so I did my first album with them because they were kind of small, independent, and they were looking for artists. So it just kind of worked out. And then from there on, I got signed to a bigger label because I was already reasonably accomplished by that point. So and did 2 more albums with them. So I have three albums.
And where do you kind of get inspiration? I mean, that's a lot of songs that you've got to write. So where do you get inspiration from when you're, coming up with ideas?
It's almost difficult to say. Just everything, daily life. A song I would have heard on the radio that I would have liked a couple of the chords from it, or the melody, or like the lyrical content, or but the first album I wrote was entirely from me, so there was no other input. Everything came from me, and I got musicians to play what I wanted them to play. And that was a really nice process because it was totally organic. But the second and the third album, I had a producer that I worked with, and we worked together, and he would kind of guide me. I guess it came from me, but he would guide me to be open to new ideas, and I would turn up at his studio and he would play me a tune, and that would kind of direct our day, that kind of thing. So the first one was nice because it was totally my own project, and the second and third were nice because it was nice to collaborate.
Okay. And have you got a favourite song? Is there one that, or do you just love them all?
It's funny you should say that, because I haven't listened to them or sung them for ages.
Really?
Yeah. I guess from the very first album, there was a song called Watching Space, which is the title track.
Yeah.
And that was quite a personal song. But then from the second album, there's a song called Raise the Roof, and that's the one that's also the title track, and that's the one that kind of did best, I guess, publicly and record sales and that kind of thing.
So cool. And I love that I know you. I remember coming home with one of your CDs and showing Louis and Daisy, and they were just like, oh my goodness, they couldn't believe it. Fantastic.
Well, and also it's like, there's lots of collaborations, and throughout the years I've got a box with all the collaboration records that I've ever been on, and the box is just full, it's heaving with other people's projects that I've just sung on, or had a tune on a compilation album, or
It's an amazing legacy to leave behind.
Well, I don't know. Yes and no. I kind of wonder if, if I go, will anyone ever listen to it ever again? Maybe the box will get sealed.
Out there in the cloud. It's going to be there forever.
Yeah. But no, it's good. I remember sitting in Gatwick Airport once and in Pret-a-Manger and hearing one of my tunes, and I was like, totally thrilled.
Yeah, that's a real woohoo, I've done it. So okay. Now I know, because I was reading your bio, and I remember from talking to you before. So you went to Mid-Em, I'm not sure if everyone would know what that is. It comes up every year, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it was 2009, and there's this big conference in Cannes, and it was quite a big changing point for you, really, I think.
It was
so can you just tell us what Mid-Em is and what you were doing there and what happened?
Yeah. Okay, so Mid-Em is an international music congress that they hold in the Palais every year. It used to be in January, but now I think it's moved to June. And so it's a congress where music writers, record labels, managers, anyone that's involved in the industry, publishers, licensors, anything, and artists, less artists than all the other kind of business side of things, but so everyone gets together and they hold meetings and they meet their suppliers and that kind of thing. And so the record label that I was signed to at the time, True Thoughts, I was their new artist, so they brought me over. They came every year to meet their distribution and that kind of thing. And they have a party. They had a party every year in a bar called Sunset in Cannes.
Oh yeah.
So they brought me over with another artist to play in this bar as a kind of their party, their record label party. And I was introduced to the owner of the bar, Thomas, and he said to me in a very French accent, "Oh, would you like to come and move to France and marry a Frenchman?" And I said, okay. And well, particularly him, not just any Frenchman. And so I did. So I just came over for the night, and he obviously made quite an impact on me, and actually Cannes made a huge impact on me. I was living in London, and I was just massively feeling the daily grind of London life. And I was just so ready for a change and the sunshine, and Cannes just beamed at me with a big grin. And so did Thomas. So I went back to London, packed my bags, and then moved back, and have been here for 8 years now.
Gosh. And you've been basically in those 8 years, so you're performing at events, you do weddings, you're basically an artist down here.
Yes.
Carried on writing music, did you?
Yeah, I did actually. I did carry on, but I haven't released an album of my own as such for a few years now, because it's a massive commitment. You have to not only go through the writing and recording process, but then you have to tour it. And coming to Cannes, my life, I just wanted to pause. I just wanted to stay still for a bit. So because it's hard work touring, it's fun and it sounds very glamorous, going to Munich, going to wherever, Spain, London, Paris, Amsterdam, whatever, and getting there and doing a gig and flying somewhere else. But actually it's really tough.
I think business travel can be overrated, can't it?
I think so, yeah. So coming here, I really just wanted to stay still and put some roots into the ground. So I do have lots of music. I mean, I probably have a couple of albums sitting on my computer ready to go, but I just have no desire to do that at the moment. I think life took me in a different direction for a bit.
Well, that's like all the big greats, your vault will be opened one day and they'll be like, oh my God, there's more material, wonderful.
Yeah, warts and all, all the
But you said you sort of stayed still, but you didn't really, did you? Because in 2011, the Sundown sisters came to town.
Yeah, so I mean,
about them. I love them.
I mean geographically more than anything. So yeah, I got to Cannes and I wanted to create my own kind of opportunities, and I think that's the amazing thing about this area and the Côte d'Azur in general is that Brits and people from other nationalities coming here, you just create your own opportunities, you create your niche, and then you just work with it. So I got to Cannes and I started teaching a bit and did a few private lessons and stuff, and then I wanted to do something, wanted to perform a bit more. So I thought about starting this vintage 50s swing group, the Sundown sisters. So with three pin-up girls, I guess, and a double bass player. And I do all the arrangements. I pick pop songs that I like and I think are popular, and then I put them in a swing kind of vintage feel, arrange them in that, and then we sing them in 3-part harmony. And so I looked for girls. I advertised for singers actually for that, and found some great singers, and that's been going ever since.
And I've seen you guys perform down in a restaurant in Cannes a couple of years ago. I loved it. It was just fantastic, because you can kind of do it up front on a stage, or do you do it also sort of walking around the room, that kind of thing as well?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah, not so much, because we're 3 girls and just the double bass. Without mics, we don't make that much noise.
I love that double bass as
well. We prefer to be static, but we can kind of, we've done a couple of gigs where we're just singing to 20 or 25 people. So in that sense, we can be totally unamplified. And just
so unique. I love it.
Yeah, so it's really fun.
Vintage glamour, tick. Soul performer, tick. And then 2014, Lizzy and the Gentlemen hits the stage.
Yeah.
How's this different from the other groups that you collaborate on?
So Lizzy and Gentlemen, the idea was, I guess it was something that kind of happened organically, because I'd met quite a lot of musicians here, and I was playing with lots of different people, but I didn't have a kind of brand. It's always a bit, I always explain it to people when they book me that it's a bit like a pick and mix. Like, you choose me and then you choose everything that goes with it, so you can have bass, you can have drums, you can have piano or guitar, you can have singers, you can have sax. So I guess Lizzy and the Gentlemen was kind of collaborating everything slightly, kind of putting it all together. So it's a swing styled group, but it's me and 4 guys this time. And we do similar kind of thing. We can play jazz, we can play any style song, but in kind of an acoustic swing style.
It's really cool, and because you can have a duo or a trio. And what was I listening to yesterday? I was listening to Aha's "Take on Me."
Yeah,
I love that. I love it. Like, it's an old song that I probably haven't listened to in 20 years or something. But then I was like, oh, that's so cool. You really brought it up to every day. It was great.
And I guess it's kind of inspired by the BBC Live Lounge. That's kind of how I describe it. In the BBC Live Lounge, they take artists, from a rock genre, and they get them to sing a jazz song, or somebody picks totally away from their natural style, and they do a song that in their style. And I think that's what was inspired by it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. So, goodness, you're doing all of that. Then you became a mum. Your diary's pretty full. But you saw a new opportunity, a new musical challenge to bring, well, I guess singing to the adult masses, really, with the Big Blaze Chorus.
Yeah. So
what is that?
Well, so this was inspired actually by my parents, who are not particularly musical, but they joined a choir in Devon. And they just loved it. I saw them participating in something that they'd sat and watched us do for so long. Their children. They'd all come to every concert. They'd been so loyal, and like the music parents, like the football parents, or just whatever. And they'd driven us around with instruments and stuff. And then I saw them being able to participate, and that they had this thing that was accessible to them. So I decided to try and start something similar here on the Côte d'Azur. So the Big Blaze Chorus is a choir for English speakers from kind of 18 up. And again, the idea was to just take any kind of song and put it into a style that the choir could sing. So we do something, and songs from Katy Perry, we do the Beatles, we do songs from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, we do gospel stuff, we do kind of a mix of everything. And so we sing in 2 parts, sometimes in 4 parts. And the idea is just that it's a non-pressured, fun, musical, creative environment for adults.
So the adults, what's their kind of typical profile? What's a typical member, would you say?
The funny thing is, you almost can't say, because we're such an eclectic mix of people. So we have a 17-year-old who's studying. We have who's an amazing voice. We have people who work at Amadeus. We have self-employed people. We have English teachers. We have mums, stay-at-home mums. We have
men,
retired men. Yeah, we have such a mixture of people, and you would never necessarily put them all together, other than the fact that they speak English. but also we have like maybe 10 different nationalities.
Wow.
In the choir, and yet they're just such a great bunch of people who really get on and blend well, and lots of them go to the pub after the rehearsals, and they enjoy each other's company, and it's just fab. And so kind of community music environment.
I obviously know the choir through Mark, but what strikes me as well is that some of those people aren't people that you would normally think are going to be up on a stage singing in a choir.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Mark will mind me saying this, but, although he likes performing, he adores singing, he's not necessarily that massive extrovert. And some of the other people I've met in your choir as well, I'm like, wow, they want to stand on a stage and sing, but something happens, doesn't it?
Totally, but actually that's the idea, is that we're all in it together, so no one is exposed. And even in the rehearsals, that's kind of my main ethos, that it's a comfortable environment for everyone. It's safe, nobody will be laughed at, nobody will be exposed, regardless of their level. Some people have sung in choirs before, some people have never sung in their life other than in the shower, so that's the idea, is that it's for everyone.
And that's what makes it, I think, very unique as a kind of singing group down here, because that's why I know the people that I know that are in it love it. So what happens in a typical session? You kind of, just because I don't know, I'm interested too.
Yeah.
What happens?
So we get together at 8:00 on a Tuesday evening at Les Colibris School in Sofia or Biot. And so that we sit in a kind of semicircle, and I sit in the middle with my keyboard, and we do a couple of warm-ups and stuff and get the kind of body and relaxed and get our voices working. And that's the other thing. It's just a nice moment in the week, I think, for people, adults, busy adults, to just have a bit of time where they just switch off and focus on something totally different. And quite a few of them have said that to me, it's my time during the week that I can, for me. So then I teach them, we do it as kind of call and response. So I sing something and they copy me, and over time they learn it. And I use Dropbox actually as like a file sharing place. So I record all of the songs and all the separate parts for everybody, so they can listen to them at home and kind of get used to them and learn them. And then in rehearsals, we kind of perfect it all. And we do probably 8 songs a term, between 6 and 8, and then we do, at the end of most terms, we do a big concert, either in Cannes or in Mougins.
You've done concerts all over. I was looking at the list, like maison de retraite, so retirement homes, churches, Christmas villages.
Yeah,
it's just brilliant, the experience that they're getting in the really cool places.
Yeah, we did the Fête de la Musique in Cannes as well on the bandstand, and we also did the Voile d'Antibes this year, which was a super cool experience.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, we were on the stage. I think they had 3,000 people watching us. And we sung some David Bowie songs with Alf on the blah, blah, blahs. And so I guess as well as just the weekly rehearsals, the idea is to give people an experience. So every term I'm looking for an experience that's not something they would usually do,
like the flash mob in Cannes.
Exactly.
That was so cool. And all those, I'll put a little link later if you send me if you've got a YouTube channel or Facebook, so that people can go and look at your style.
Okay.
When they do, that would be really helpful, I think. I'm guessing it's not too late to join, that basically people can join,
people
in the year.
Yeah, people can join any time. The beginning of each term is always the best time to join. So now is a really good time to join because we're kind of just starting off. But because you've got the Dropbox, it's, people can join any time and come for a trial and see if they like it. And then if, then they can join up. So yeah, any time is good, but this is a really great time now.
Excellent. Okay. Is there anything coming up that you want to talk about that's maybe in the pipeline for 2017?
Yes. So at the moment, I'm thinking about launching a children's choir.
Oh, wow.
Because I've done a couple of stage, like one-off Saturday morning stages with some kids in the local area, and they've just been so popular. So I think at the moment I'm trying to kind of just coordinate a venue and a time and a day. But the idea is just to launch a children's choir.
Fantastic. Well, so you're going to be helping to solve that problem we talked about earlier about getting all the kids musical.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I wish I had more hours in the week because I'm constantly having demand.
So do we.
For more music lessons and that kind of thing. And I'm doing all the private lessons and teaching singing and piano and saxophone and flute and clarinet at the moment. So, the amount of luggage that I take out of the door on a Monday morning, instruments of all sorts.
That's so funny. I can picture you now. I think we'll need a photo for our website.
I need a rolly trolley to get it all out the door.
Well, Lizzy, it sounds you're really busy, so I really, really do appreciate the time that you've given to have a chat. Before I let you go, can you just tell me any one place on the Côte d'Azur that we can tell our members a top place to visit or go and see? Because you must have seen some amazing places with your events and touring.
So one of my favourite places, actually, it's true that a lot of the events that I do are kind of quite nice events, so we get to visit some really beautiful places. The Villa Rothschild and the Cap Ferrat is like stunning, the view from there is beautiful. But one of my favourite places that I perform in reasonably often and also go there because it's just great is Le Crin in Cannes, which is just a kind of beach restaurant bar.
Yeah,
just so beautiful. You just feel totally disconnected there. So that's one of my favourite places to kind of scoot along the Palm Beach and then go for an apple juice in Le Crin.
Fantastic. I'm going to add that to my to-do list for the year.
Yes, do it. Yeah.
So listen, with January's 2017 New Year, have you got any inspirational quote for us?
I was thinking about this. Now, I've always been a massive believer in intuition. And I've always been a follow your heart kind of girl, and I'll wake up one day and just have an idea and I've just got to go with it, or have a feeling about something. So I'm a strong believer in being yourself and believing in yourself, but I'm also a believer in kind of the little things that are magical in life. So my quote would be, always be yourself, unless you can be a unicorn, in which case definitely be a unicorn.
I love it. That's so cool. That's so you. Lizzy Parks, on behalf of the Riviera Firefly, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I hope you're feeling inspired, Fireflies. Why don't you join Lizzy's chorus? Go to bigblazeChorus.com to find out more. As promised, if you wanted to find out more about the groups that she collaborates in, you have LizzyandtheGentleman.com. There are some great videos there that you can look and listen and see how they've transformed classics. Or for the 50s glamour swing trio, then it's theSundownsisters.com. Now, if like me, Jamie Callum's advice piqued your interest, then you do need to check out LizzyParks.com and you'll be able to see her sultry back catalogue on there. Thank you very much, Fireflies. Catch you next time.
This episode was brought to you by Riviera Firefly for Côte d'Azur Living by your host and my mum, Antonia Beauvoisin-Brown. Please subscribe, like and share. Until the next time, au revoir les Fireflies!